ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene and you're at our ASEAN Daily, and this time we will bring you more news from the socio-cultural and trends in Southeast Asia. So, before we start the show, I just want to say that the Happy Chinese New Year, happy becoming Chinese New Year to all the Chinese next week, celebrating the prosperous year of the lunar year. Welcome back. So, the first news of today is Southeast Asia will get warmer instead of cooler. So, all this news about the weather pattern is getting cooler is not really reaching to the Southeast Asian shore anytime longer. In fact, by 2100 or 2100 year, the Southeast Asia will get 5 Celsius warmer. Scientists in Southeast Asia and United Kingdom Met Office have teamed up to develop a model that predicts how the climate in the region will be like in the next 100 years. So, according to this climate model, the region will generally increase by 2 to 4 degrees Celsius warmer by 2060 and continue to heat up around 3 to 5 degrees Celsius until 2100. So how would this impact for the long term in terms of agriculture sector and the food security? Well, a lot of things could be said. The thing is, when it comes to the weather pattern in Southeast Asia, definitely is something that needs to be addressed for the long term, and with this, we can definitely say that the increase by 5 degrees Celsius of the weather pattern will impact negatively on the food security. So, for governments in Southeast Asia, maybe that's something that we need to look to. But anyway, this is just a climate model, so the reality might be different, but it's good to anticipate all the different concerns and situation out there. Another news that is a bit more optimistic is Filipino is rated the most optimistic consumer in Southeast Asia. Filipino were the most optimistic consumer in this region, therefore the most willing spenders in the region towards the close of 2015. Surveys results of the Nelson research firm indicated. In the latest Nelson's online survey conducted from November 2nd to 25th in 2015, consumers in India got the highest score of 131 in the Consumer Confidence Index. Filipino consumers had an index score of 117, unchanged from that in the third quarter of last year, with their optimism based on what they perceive were good or excellent job prospects in 2016. The Nelson Consumer Confidence Index measures perception of local job prospect, personal finances, and immediate spending intentions among more than 30,000 respondents with internet access in 61 countries. Consumer confidence level above and below a baseline of 100 indicate degrees of optimism and pessimism. The upbeat perception on personal finances and the country's economy and job prospects encourages consumer spending on discretionary items. Among the discretionary items purchased, high on the priority list of Filipino consumers were spending on holidays/vacations and new technology products, as well as out-of-home entertainment. According to survey, 74% of Filipino consumers say job prospects were expected to be good or excellent over the next 12 months, compared to the global average of 48. That's a good thing for the Filipino to be very optimistic. Well, around Southeast Asia, that's a different story. Indonesia, well, interestingly, closely followed the Philippines as having the third most confident consumers globally, with a score of 115, dropping 1 point from the third quarter of 2015. Thailand ranked fourth globally, gaining 3 points with a score of 114, while Vietnam rose to 6th place from its previous rank of 10th place globally with a score of 108, up to 3 points quarter on quarter. Unfortunately, our country Malaysia suffered the worst decline in the third quarter, gained back 2 points to settle for a score of 80. Singapore also saw consumer confidence fall to a score of 94 in the fourth quarter, a 7-point decline from the third quarter, looks like. Malaysia and Singapore, we are quite not an optimistic country. Maybe something that we need to learn from our Filipino friends, and how to be optimistic even in times where things go bad or not doing well. Another news that we would love to highlight is about the palm oil industry. If you have read the report by the NUS, National University of Singapore, where it was written and a news was produced, it's called The Oily Truth by the Singapore Straits Times, where they challenge that the palm oil is in fact bad for human consumption. It has 50% of arteries clogging saturated fat in comparison to other vegetable oil. And Malaysia is not happy about it. In fact, it's challenging the Oily Truth Palm Oil report by the University in Singapore. Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Dato' Aman Douglas Uga Ambas is expected to raise a reportedly unfavorable research finding on palm oil. And more news about it is that he said that he wants to have a dialogue with the Malaysian Estate Owner Association to engage with the Singapore side on the matter. In January the 12th, the article headlined The Oily Truth, published in the Straits Times Singapore, reported that researchers found that palm oil contains high levels of bad cholesterol in the body. It says that elevated level of low-density lipoprotein cholesterol from eating palm oil translated into a 6% higher risk of coronary heart disease incidence and death. So what is the truth? Is it above bad science? There are a number of studies with favorable conclusions about the health aspect of palm oil consumption, but unfortunately, these findings did not find traction in the public media and mindset. This was being expressed by the Malaysian authorities when he questioned and challenged that the article, The Oily Truth, is based on bad science rather than actual science itself. So earlier on, he said that palm oil has continued to be portrayed as a contributor towards deforestation and a sustainable development perspective. He said that onslaught against palm oil focused on malicious allegation on its cultivation practices, health and nutritional value, and impact on the environment and biodiversity. This allegation, while not substantiated, must be constantly and professionally addressed. The cooperation and industry player in addressing these issues is vital to support and augment efforts by Minister. Ungas also said that further promote domestic consumption and value add of palm oil products, the ministry will continue intensify research and commercialization of the new palm-based products. So there you go. Who to believe? We can't really say much about it, but you be the judge. Final news of today is the news that everyone is talking about. Could Vietnam become the next Silicon Valley? Well, there's a lot of things about Vietnam that is really doing well. In the past 20 years, it has been one of the fastest growing market in the world. And 10 years ago, there were only about 4 million internet users. Now, there are more than 40 million. 10 years ago, there were virtually no smartphones in use here. Now, there are 30 million smartphone users. In fact, the trajectory is phenomenal. If you look at the score for Vietnam in reading, math, and science, they actually score higher than countries like in the US and the UK. That's the foundation for computer science that's given Vietnam an edge. In fact, they have developed the Saigon Silicon City, which is similar to the Silicon Valley in California. If you were here 6 or 7 months ago, this was like a rice farm. This is according to Hu Min Nguyen, as he motioned to the dusty plain beneath their feet, about 15 minutes drive from the center of Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon. But if you are here in 6 months, you will see Saigon Silicon City right here. We built high-rise buildings, and along the river, they have a landscape with a park and also a golf course and tennis, all kinds of entertainment, according to him. And aiming to create the world's next Silicon Valley is ambitious, but to him, Mr. Hu, a Vietnamese American investor and chairman of the project, is a believer. Last year, a ceremony was held to turn the first sword on what he hopes will become a technology hub that will attract 24 companies and $1.5 billion worth of investment. When it comes to choosing which startup to invest, according to Eddie Tan and Bin Tran, who is, of course, one of the up-and-coming startups star in Vietnam, he said that he don't like anything that is super trendy. In fact, in an apparent move away from his own invention, Cloud, which ranks users' social media influence, he likes basic building blocks, technologies that are going to help businesses run better. In fact, they are running the next VNGs, according to Mr. Tai, referring to Vietnam's biggest tech success story, the gaming, chat, and e-commerce platform VNG, valuing at $1 billion in 2014. Well, that's all from our news today. Thanks for listening to Durian ASEAN. You can always catch us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to go to our webpage at durianasean.com. You can listen to our podcast. You can listen live to our interviews, as well as you can read all the latest updates and articles on Southeast Asia.